Hello everyone, welcome back to Leeton. So today's video is a bit of a mishmash of everything. I've got a few jobs I've got to do down here in the veg plot, but first of all I think I'll just show you around, see how things are growing, and then we'll get on and do a bit of work. So, first glance, everything looks like it's growing quite nicely. And most things are, to be fair, but we have got a few issues going on. So, let's start with this apple tree. Now, we put this in late last year, and it's got a few little apples coming. There's one. There's another one, but not looking too clever, that one. We've got one down there, and we've got one over there. So that's all looking good. The only thing that we are going to have to do, I think, with this is move it in the autumn or the winter, because I think it's been planted too close to the fence, so we need to get that moved. Then we've got some mange too coming along nicely there, starting to flower. Parsnips behind, a row of parsnips there. There's a few that I put in down here, but one has been eaten by slugs, I believe, and the other one, I came down and the pot has been dug up. So whether that was a bird scratching around or a mouse, I'm not certain. I did see a field mouse the other day, but I don't mind too much. They've all got to eat. The climbing beans that I put in are coming on nicely now, starting to climb their way up the poles. My flat-leafed parsley has recovered after the slugs took the tops off. Started to grow again. The dwarf beans not doing so great because purely slugs, I think. I mean, that one, I think that one's had it. So I've kind of left that there as a sacrificial one, hoping that these others might just recover and get going again, but we'll see. The rhubarb, that has really put out some new growth since I harvested it last week, so happy days there. Cucumber, we've got two in the garden. It's coming on. No sign of any flowers yet, but it is still only midsummer, so. The strawberries are finished cropping now, but they are still putting out so many runners, and we'll get onto that in a bit. The lavender is doing well, supermarket lavender. The basil isn't doing so well. Need to do something about that. But the coriander and the parsley I bought cheap in the supermarkets and potted on, cut them back, they've come back to life. We've got some pick and come again lettuce here and there, some sweet peppers. Excuse me, I'm still recovering from a bit of a cold. And then we've just got strawberries galore coming off the runners, and I've got to get onto that and sort them out. This is a cauliflower that is the only one that survived from my March sowing, and it isn't covered, as you can see, and I am leaving it uncovered to distract the cabbage white's attention from my other brassica that are in the garden. And as you can see, there we have some eggs. So I'm using this as a distraction, and what I do is I come down and check it once or twice a day and brush the eggs off. And I've probably removed 5 or 6 lots of eggs in the last week. But if we can keep it going, keep it alive, then good. And these are tomato cuttings. These are the side shoots that you pinch out, and it's an idea that I got from Steve at Green Side Up, and they've come back to life by the looks of it. Obviously growing a few roots. So down this end, so these are my main crop potatoes, and they are ginormous. If you look at those there, they must be 4.5 foot high, and that's pretty crazy really. And I was watching a video by Tony at Simplified Gardening, and he was having the same problems, and he's putting it down to or possibly putting it down to the amount of nitrogen in the peat-free compost that is producing a lot of green growth, but possibly not that much in root growth, in tuber growth. So we'll see. Now, I didn't put compost on here, I put horse manure, and that may well be the same issue. But what is very, very interesting is, if you look there, they're 4.5 foot high, nearly 5 foot, and then it gets lower and lower and lower and lower and lower and lower and lower the further this way you come. But I put horse manure on all of that bed, so I really don't know what's going on there, and it needs a bit more investigation. Excuse me. So in here I have my sprouts and calabrese, and as you can see, the calabrese has not done so great, but it didn't have a particularly good life, just to be honest. They got absolutely hammered by aphids in the early part of the spring, and then they got potted on to hold them back because I just didn't have anywhere to put them, and then they got planted out and bolted basically. So we have eaten them. We took one like that last night, ate the lot. It's all edible, a little bit stringy, but it's still very tasty. There's a little bit of a half decent head there, and there's some tiny ones here and there. Now if I was to cut that off, it may put out some side shoots and grow some tiny little heads there, but not certain what I'm going to do with that yet. So let's move on. Here we have more Monge 2 coming on nicely, starting to flower. We've got some cracking lettuce going on down here, hearting up. We took one to the kitchen the other day and it was absolutely gorgeous. Another cucumber there. I've got mustard growing here and there. These are onions that was planted as sets in March, and in this bed, for some reason, most of them haven't done very well. But in that bed, they've done brilliantly. And both beds were treated the same amount of water and everything. These are multi-sown onions that I sowed in June and planted out last week. So there for the autumn. That one's not looking too bad. These are onions that I was saving for seed, and I came down the other day and something had cut off the seed, the flower, and that is a pretty clean cut. There's no sign of the flower head, and I really am wondering what could have done that. What could have cut it off that cleanly? I don't know. It's very strange. Carrots, well, doing very well. We've been eating the carrots, and they're absolutely lovely, and done pretty well with the carrots. So I might pull this row and get them in the fridge. We'll eat them in the next few days, and I can get some more in the ground. Onions again sown from sets in March, coming on really nicely, bulbing up now. No sign of them forming any flowers yet, so I'm just going to leave them, see how big we can get them. And then over here, tomatoes, not doing great, I have to say. Forming some flowers, but they're just not getting any size on them. Same here really. We've got them all the way along the fence there. The ones further back are doing a bit better, but not great. I've got a few leeks in here, but nothing to speak of. And then there's the parsnips. So if you've watched previous videos, you'll know that all of this soil has all got to be leveled out, and that shed's going, and then there's another plot up there that we're going to turn into veg plot. It's all a big amount of work that we're working towards, but we are renovating the house as well, which is taking its time, and I have to manage expectations of the family as well as try and grow some food. So carrots in a bucket. I did do a video on this, and they are starting to appear. There's a few still that haven't come up, but I'm going to give it some time, because carrots can take their time to germinate, and I often find that you'll sow a row of carrots and quite a few of them will come up, and then you've got these big spaces and you think, oh, they're not going to germinate, and then about 2 weeks later they come up. So I'm not going to panic, I'm just going to leave them, keep them damp, see how they get on. And then over here, if you watch the video on spuds in a pot, and I had some supermarket potatoes that had gone a bit green and started to shoot, I put 4 of them in this pot. Well, at the minute, one's come up. I've got no idea what variety they are. I just thought I'd plant them and see what happened. And we've got one there at the moment. The others just may not do anything, but we'll see. It's an experiment. Now, if you watched my last video, you'll know that I sorted out these compost bins and turned them, swapped them round to put some oxygen into them to try and get them to reheat and rot down faster. And this pile was, it had already been turned. It had already been turned once, and it hasn't really reheated much. It's probably about 25 degrees, something like that. I have watered both piles since I turned them, And this pile is now about 56 degrees, just in the red, and that's great. That's where I try to get the temperature, just between the green and the red if I can. So that means that this pile is red hot in the middle. It's rotting everything down faster. It's killing weed seeds and nasty things that I don't want. And all I've got to do really is just keep it moist and let it do its thing. Hopefully another couple of months or so and it will be ready. Right, in amongst the calabrese, which has been a bit of a serious failure, as I've already explained. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the little parts that are edible and just leave them, see how it gets on for a few days, because I've got a load more coming on in the greenhouse, which I'll show you in a bit, and they're doing really well. So I'll just snip the tops off, the heads off, the tiny little heads, and if they grow any more little side shoots, side heads, then I'll take those. If not, a few days I'll take these out and I'll put the fresh ones in. And what I'll do is like that there, that's going to be quite stringy probably to eat, so that'll go in the compost. And by doing this, by taking off the heads that are growing, you encourage the side shoots to grow as well. So but it's all perfectly edible. You could dig up and cook the whole plant. You could eat it raw if you wanted to, but it's just, it gets quite woody, quite stringy. But there we go. Got this one here, and that's the best head that I've managed to grow this year so far. All right, so there's a little bit to go with tea tonight. So what I'm going to do now is just go around, take off any leaves that aren't doing the plant any favours now, that are attracting slugs because they're dying off. But the sprouts are looking quite good, quite healthy, so I'm just going to leave those alone. But I think what will happen in a few days is these will come out, and I'll put the fresh ones in. So these strawberries have gone really well. Royal Sovereign variety. I bought 6 plants for £6 at one of the big sheds, the big retailers. And we had some lovely strawberries in June, and I've been taking the runners as they put them out and getting them started as young plants, and I've got loads of plants now. So I need to go through these very quickly, sort out what are now standalone plants, put them in this crate, then I can move them out the way and get more plants going from runners, so that next year I've got lots and lots of strawberry plants to do what I want to do with. So that one there, that's got its own roots now, so I'm going to snip that off, and that is a little strawberry plant. It's growing purely of its own accord, so we'll put him in there. That can come out. And what happens is, so this plant grew off the plant that I bought, and it put a runner out, and it grew this plant, and now that plant is putting out its own runner as well. So as that runner grows, if it gets to grow that much this season, it might not make it now, but if it does, I'll put another pot and get that plant growing from this one. So I'll go through these and we'll see how many I can get into this crate. Okay, so I've got a few more strawberry plants organised now, and they're the ones that are now self-sufficient, living off their own roots, etc. I've got a few more jobs to do down here. I'll put some more string up for the munch too. Little jobs like that, bit of weeding, etc. But it's getting quite hot now. Even though it's overcast, it's going to be quite hot today. Okay everyone, well thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.